Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Dr. Junaid Kalia, CEO and founder of NeuroCare.ai. How are you today, Junaid?
Hi, thank you so much, Dario. I really appreciate it, you taking the time. It's been wonderful here in Dallas, Texas. It's been raining.
Good. I know I lived in Texas for a period of time, and I think it went 6 months without a drop of rain. And then when I moved back to Philadelphia, I said I'm never going to complain about the rain again.
Um, Dallas has been on and off. Yeah, it's a very temperamental weather. I agree.
Cool. Well, let's just jump in here. Um, I know you've been doing some amazing things in your organization, and you've really been pioneering in the application of AI in healthcare. But maybe just take a step back and explain to the audience what your company does and some of your core solutions.
Sure, absolutely. So, first, understanding a little bit of the background where I come from and why I even built the company is kind of a little important. I'm a neurocritical care stroke and epilepsy specialist by training, and we have been providing telestroke care forever. And one of the key issues is that if you decrease the time to give a powerful blood thinner, which is also called a clot buster, you essentially improve patients' lives significantly. So the idea was that if every single second, 32,000 neurons die. So within that framework, what I decided to do, because I'm originally from Pakistan, I wanted to build a project. And that project was to make it available, democratize artificial intelligence to the broader community, because AI is a newer technology, it's expensive. So our technology, our process was to make it as feasible in terms of implementation and decrease the costs significantly. And the idea was to build it in a way that it can be delivered on the edge. While we made all these technologies, we realized that this is not just a problem for low-income countries. It is a significant problem for middle-income countries. And as a matter of fact, being a director of neuro ICU in the past and director of stroke, there are struggling hospitals, especially in the rural areas that
Sure.
do not have those availability. So we moved our strategy to convert that project into a proper company and then got FDA approval. It is getting pilots done in multiple places. And the idea is to democratize artificial intelligence for the masses in select areas where it has proven to either improve patient outcomes or workflow optimizations.
So is the situation that they don't have access to care and you're giving them that access, or are you giving them a better access? What's sort of the distinction there, Junaid?
Correct. So one of the key problems with artificial intelligence is that there's a huge freaking hype, and then
Yep.
people don't understand the reality where it is going to be really impactful. So what we do is we really define a real world problem and then come up with a solution rather than the other way around. Because the industry is let's make a gigantic, freaking massive foundation model or Gemini's and OpenAI's, but how do you put that into clinical applications is the main problem. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that putting AI in willy-nilly within the systems and workflows is actually more disruptive than actually useful. So defining the problem is extremely important. So in this situation, the problem was earlier, the faster care in stroke would be beneficial to the patients significantly as it's going to save lives and limbs. How do you improve the faster part? Is use AI. How do you use AI in that situation is that CT scan is done on every patient. As a matter of fact, now the flow is the patient comes to the ER, directly goes to the CAT scanner. And then, we need to know from neurologists, which are generally now on tele services, because especially there are so many rural areas, and we have to make a decision. So we need access to imaging fast, and we need a co-pilot, not a decision maker, a co-pilot with us to understand, okay, this is a bleed or not, so that we can move and streamline the process. Again, every second, 32,000 neurons die. Every minute you lose a limb, speech, language, and vision. So this is so important to understand where to put the AI. It produces maximum benefit and not hurt, because again, there are AIs that are available, which I've told my CEO of the hospital to do take it off, because I'm going to be answering more questions, because they produce a AI based reading and then I have to explain to the nurses, the neurosurgeons, and everyone. It actually was very hurtful on my time to actually have those AIs built into the system.
Wow. Is it because they're giving false readings or unreliable readings?
So that's one of the things that you have to understand. People do feel like AI should be 100%. It will never be.
Yeah.
More importantly, humans, including me, are never 100%.
Yeah.
So that's very important. I mean, if I wake up at 3 in the morning, my daughter has been sick, I've been trying to take care of her. I don't know, I had a fight with my wife. Who knows what state I'm in? What the idea behind it is that we ensure that AI is deployed in a way that is co-pilot, essentially. You and the AI is assisting you in clinical decision making. So when you have these situations where AI is actually 98% sensitive and specific and accuracy above 99%, that is fine, but there's always a range. It's a probability.
Sure.
In the very essence, what AI is, a prediction engine. No
Right.
matter if it's vision or it's large language model. You're sitting on a house of deck of cards and you are producing multiple decks, and the idea is to find the next card the best.
Right.
That is literally what AI does.
Right.
If it's predicting the next word or it's predicting a mass on the MRI, same thing. So there's always a range of probability, and then there's a confidence interval. And that range of probability has to be reported. And sometimes you get false positives or false negatives. Again, the burden is on us as physicians to ensure that A, it is implemented properly in a fashion. And then, of course, when you have some false positives, so do I. I mean, I'm not 100% perfect. That's not the question. The question is to finding the right balance.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the user experience. I mean, obviously, you have plenty of experience, in the ER and whatnot. Tell us about how, the process works. You mentioned patient gets a CT scan, but you would be the neurologist basically connected by telehealth. How does it work, Junaid?
Correct. So as the patient comes in within the emergency room, believe it or not, nowadays we have EMS
Yep.
initiating sort of a signal to the ER that, hey, this patient is coming with a stroke. Time is brain. So when you have time is brain, you really need to push through the process so that you can actually save neurons. And we have so many debates on how to do that, etc. But at the end of the day, the idea is that the minute the ER physician gets the patient, they send out a signal to us, a page. We actually know that the patient is available. We call the physicians. Sometimes we have availability of prior charts, sometimes we don't, and we're going to talk about the importance of integration within systems. And then we move towards that I'm going to go get online in front of a telemedicine card, and then I'm going to log in and see the patient with the help of a bedside provider.
Right.
Most of them are stroke coordinator nurses, highly skilled, amazing people, sometimes nurse practitioners, sometimes ED physicians themselves are present. And then we evaluate the patient as quickly as possible. And while we are evaluating, the images I've already pushed into my mobile application, which we developed in other companies as well. And then it will give you both access to images right away, and then also give you access to a pre-read from the AI, which you may or may not agree with.
Gotcha. And how does it come up with sort of the probability and the confidence interval?
Yeah, I mean, we are FDA approved, by the way. So
Yeah, I noticed that.
I have a newfound respect for how FDA actually progressed to us. Again, this was our first experience. And believe it or not, they have a very well-defined system for vision. They don't have for large language models or generative AI, which is a big problem right now. But for vision, they do have a very defined process. I have to prove to them that I have tested my solutions on multiple age groups, both genders, different manufacturers of CAT scan machines like Siemens, Philips, etc. Then I have to also prove on slice thicknesses, etc. And all of that information is given to FDA before they approve it.
Right.
And so this is, again, a very highly orchestrated, standardized fashion in which the FDA is approving these, software as medical devices. That's the term we use, and they are essentially doing a fantastic job. But again, we had to be very careful in producing those results, double testing, triple testing, making sure that it covers the gamut of stuff that the FDA requires. The key features, of course, are how fast you do it, decreasing the latency. That's where we come in because our solution is edge-based and it can be very fast and available on device. And of course, there are other ways to improve, the workflow, but that's the basic process.
Wow, excellent. And just tell us more about the regulatory process. Any other surprises? I mean, obviously, AI is new. Whatever to your point is, it's newer at least. And you mentioned that the FDA did a good job. Tell us just a little bit more about that experience and.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm a physician-led company, which is essentially you have what we call founder problem fit, because we know exactly in the clinical practice where the problems are, and then you can go through that, which is for others is called product market fit. But the surprise for regulatory was that I did not realize that how much FDA gives essential importance to cybersecurity. We were already from the very beginning, a company that we were privacy preserving cybersecurity. So we are high trust cybersecurity framework certified. So we had all the documents already ready for the FDA. So we were ready from the beginning, but I was appreciative of FDA that how much input they have given to make sure that not only the solution is clinically accurate, but also safe to deploy in terms of cybersecurity and privacy preserving.
Excellent. And did you raise capital, Junaid? Tell us a little bit about how you funded your business.
Yeah, so I mean, I essentially put $1 million of my own when I started the company. That's called Bootstrapping.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we went through essentially a pre-seed round, which was part one was done last year in March. Part two, we are finishing this year. And then we essentially raised around $800,000. The goal is $1 million, which will fill soon enough. And then that will take us to the next stage of seed round. And the reason that we are delaying that is because we have 3 more FDAs coming in the pipeline, and all these pilots are going to come to fruition, become full clients, and then we're going to proceed from pre-seed to seed.
So from an investor's perspective, what seems to matter most to them?
Yeah, so it's a very loaded question.
Not intended to be.
You want me to, okay. If you look at, by the way, just to set it back the stage, I did start as an investor.
Yep.
I really tried to find founders who would do this.
Yep.
I mean, I have a clinical practice. I love it. I enjoy taking care of patients. I don't want to get into this, and I would have done this, but it was very hard for people to understand the process. And let me explain this. Yep. So when you're developing AI, you have, AI development pipeline, which is basically data operations, ML operations. So finding the data was easy for me. AI engineers, again, wasn't that hard for me. So that process was done. But then the second part is delivering it.
Yep.
In a way, I told you, delivery is very important, that it comes as a critical notification, etc. So we have to develop a whole software stack, again, which has to be cyber secure. Then, of course, is the FDA operations, which is the compliance part. Yep. What we did was that we realized from the very beginning, and I sat there with, that what is the real application that is needed. So within that application, believe, as I told you, FDA application is 20% to do with clinical, which is very extensive. But the rest of the 80% is software configurations, hazard analysis, change management, quality management systems, etc. So we concentrated on that 80% in a way that we can use it for different FDAs.
Right.
So we set up a process for our FDA applications in itself, and that's why we can say that, okay, every 3 months we're going to have an FDA, because the clinical portion is processified, this is processified, and
Sure.
That's why we actually go ahead and move this. That is the magic that I bring in. Of course, technologically, we can make it cheaper and make it available on the edge. Now coming back to the digital health startup as a whole.
Yep.
Digital health startup as a whole has been, for a lack of a better word, a hole for the investors. Those startups have not brought value. Yep. Those startups have not done return on investment. As a matter of fact, in general, VCs have not been able to pick winners. Yep. They have basically the thought was burn the money, get the customer, move on.
Yeah.
And the reason behind was that everyone wants to get the AI solution, but nobody really concentrated on a problem.
Right.
People were saying, oh, they're building solutions, but who? Who's going to goddamn pay for it? I keep it, okay, Junaid, build this. And I said, yeah, I can do it. No
Right.
problem. Give me 30 days. But here's the thing. Who's going to pay for it? Nobody has that goddamn answer.
Right.
Because that's the problem, right? If you have to understand where you bring the return on investment and how much savings you're going to do. And in healthcare specifically, that's a bigger challenge.
Yeah.
Because claims industry is separate, EMRs are separate, billing softwares are separate. You just show ROI is extremely hard in healthcare in itself. They will pay for it.
Right.
But showing the ROI in itself is a huge, big problem. So number one, VCs can't pick winners in general, to be honest with you, but especially in digital health, because they don't have, even for example, I started with a simple problem that was known to create direct financial incentive.
Sure.
Very simple. If a hospital takes my solution, the simple part is that if they decrease the time to decision, time to needle, you get with the guidelines with stroke, you basically get increased funding, you get more, money per stroke because you're doing better. Very simple, straight. This is this is your ROI, here's you go. As a matter of fact, if after 4 or 5 cases, you are done. So that's the digital health startup is the issue. And again, problem market fit is an extremely bigger problem. And then I think, it's an assumption, physicians need to be greatly involved in these problems identification. And then, of course, CIOs, CTOs of the hospitals, you need to understand from them that are they going to pay for it?
Right. Tell us a little bit about your commercialization strategy.
Yeah. So the biggest problem for not coming from a traditional, back, some founders that are actually better at it are ex-Meta or ex-AWS. And then within that LinkedIn information, you're going to see that they have what we call a huge go-to-market strategy. That is, when you develop that is important. I did, of course, understanding the positioning of my application, understanding all of these situations in which, keyword analysis, how we're going to go through that in terms of I did the initial GTM, then of course we brought in an outside consultation to refine that. And then we are going to find what the ICP personas are and then moving forward. Of course, NeuroICH is our first FDA-approved product, but we understood that how delivering AI is going to be extremely important. So we developed another product called RadioView AI, which is essentially taking all that information from the vision, which is one agent, pushing it into a large language model like size of the mass, etc., automatically. And then rather than dictating, you just speak your intent, essentially decreasing reporting time by 80%.
Wow.
And therefore, you have to go through that process. So yes, pure honestly, I did struggle a lot with our GTM strategy, and then I had to bring in a consulting firm to help me.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed on your website, you have a very substantial advisory board. How have you used those, whether they're key opinion leaders or other experts? How have you engaged them?
Correct. So at every turn, there's a problem to be solved.
Yeah.
Right. So if you start from the beginning, the biggest problem was data. So we had advisors who helped us acquire them and then label them for us. Then the second problem was that KOLs, so that people understand that we have this product which is new, better, improved, and cheaper. So we added those KOLs. Then the third one is essentially a group of people that have been able to give us like industry insights, projections, past experience.
Yep.
Especially, I'm just going to be very honest with you, where I am weak.
Well, you can't be an expert at everything.
Yeah, I'm a weak point in that. So that's one of the group of advisors.
Yep.
Then lastly, there are, of course, claims data, etc. There are people who are looking at it. For example, I went to JP Morgan conference.
Yep.
They were able to get me warm introductions. So just to get, next product ideas, understanding what CIOs, CTOs are looking. And then eventually, of course, I'm one of the KOLs and they come and ask me as well. But the idea is to have your network. So advisory shares, actually, I'm going to tell you one thing. A lot of startups lose a lot of money initially in advisors.
Yeah,
And of course, a bunch of my friends, we have
sure.
done a deal, but I would recommend that when you are talking to a new startup, that you have a clear expectation statement of work for advisors and then move with it, because that will really tell you, okay, this is something that, you have a relationship that is, good.
What about from a reimbursement standpoint, Junaid? Have you had to deal with that yet?
Um, so there are two ways AI is currently reimbursed.
Yep,
One is hospital eats the cost.
yep,
Why would they eat the cost? Because, as I told you, they have reimbursed from a different way. Because the faster you delivered that care, if you were going to get reimbursed from an insurance company 4,000 rather than 4,000, you're going to give 6,000. Now, why would insurance company give you more money? Because when you deliver this care faster, the chances of that patient having disability is low.
yep,
So that insurance company has to pay on the leg to physical therapies, nursing homes, etc., 100,000.
yep,
They're happy to reimburse you extra 2,000 if your overall performance is good.
yep.
So that's again the ROI that comes in. So that's where you find. So insurance companies do end up paying more for improved, overall performance in terms of time and reimbursement. Then of course the hospitals do get money from state, federal funding, etc. That is tied to your performance again. So that's important. And the third one is the big one that is coming is called NTAP, New Technology Adoption Payment. That is from CMS for up to 3 years. If you develop something that is unique, exciting, and you have proven that it's going to improve patient outcomes, and CMS's goal is to improve these technologies within the system, and sometimes they even don't require like a proof of patient outcomes. They do help companies to get to that proof.
Yep.
So they reimburse, up to $3,000. So the range is somewhere between $700 to $3,000 directly from CMS for these kinds of new technology
Hmm.
adoption. And they actually pay essentially hospitals to, acquire these. This is mainly for larger organizations and hospitals. I have personally not seen, maybe one of someone who can comment that it is
Yep.
available for multi-specialty clinics or small clinics as well.
Right, right, right. Wow. Well, this has just been a fascinating interview, and I really appreciate everything you shared. Just to close things up, what maybe two or three pearls of wisdom could you share with healthcare AI founders and CEOs?
Yeah, as far as the founders, again, always concentrate on problem and then make sure of that. Number two, investors, again, there, there are two things: market size and founding team.
Yep.
Everything else is smokes and mirrors.
Yeah.
If you don't know the right market size, and by the way, everyone bullshits on the freaking pitch deck slide, so make sure you double check
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number three, for CIOs, CTOs that are looking to implement, and I'll get this a question a lot. I would recommend to first do a pilot, but do a pilot in an integrated fashion. What that means is that it's not just about, oh, it works. Does it work in your situation?
Right.
Because that is the biggest problem. Because you can put in, and somebody can, people can sell dirt. The question really is that does it improve your particular workflow? So I would recommend always to do pilots in an integrated fashion so that, and do like mock runs, for example. So that way you really understand the value. And once you understand the value, then you'll pay for it too.
Excellent. Well, this has been a great interview. Thanks so much. Congratulations on all your success and best of all the best going forward.
Thank you so much again for having me on. I really appreciate it.